Hey Tom, sure do. So first of all, let me educate you on what lower in the head voice means. So for lower voices, I'm assuming you have possibly a tenor or a baritone voice. I'm not sure, haven't heard you. But for these voices, the passagio, or the break or bridge in the voice, actually there's multiple breaks or bridges in the voice, but they are obviously lower than higher voices, soprano and alto breaks. So I'm guessing, again, don't know for sure, haven't heard you, but your first bridge, which would be kind of the one that you could get away with connecting more chest in, and thus, maybe having a little bit of a weighty tendency or just having to navigate it in a slightly thicker fashion, would be your first passage, okay? That one is going to be like an E4 to like an F sharp 4. That's going to be the first little chunk of a bridge that you have to deal with. Now, again, every voice is different. In my experience teaching, everybody usually is pretty solid on at least one of their passages, and then the rest of the passages are or they just have one treble passage where they just can't figure it out. So based on what you're saying, lower head voice, that's what I would say would probably be where you're talking about. Or maybe it's their second passage, which is that G region to A region. So those are just a couple steps above. So anyway, that being said, for a lower voice, how do we navigate these spots? I'm going to teach it from a balanced place, a balanced mix, so that you can go from the bottom of your voice to your head voice without feeling a whole lot of shifting going on. And another thing to keep in mind, would be really important to know what your tendency is, meaning what do you have a tendency to do when you approach going higher in your voice, right? I can't really give you accurate information unless I know this, because there's all kinds of tendencies. You could be a weighty tendency that tries to pull up a lot of weight. You could have a falsetto tendency, which means you kind of let go altogether at the top and it gets really light and airy. You could be blending somewhat, right? You could have what's called a gradual flip, where you're just letting go of your thickness a little bit too much as you go up. Or you could have an abrupt flip too, where it's just all of a sudden one note hits and it's oh, right? That could happen too. And let me tell you, pretty much every singer that I've ever taught ever has something going on. It is so rare to have just balance, right? So anyway, that's just a little education on that. So now what do we do? You're telling me it's weak and breathy. So it probably sounds like you have more of a falsetto-y flip. So here are some exercises building falsetto. First thing to know is we're going to pick more forward vowels that are also going to lead you towards head voice. The reason that I'm doing that is that every exercise should serve a function. So if I'm trying to encourage you to do head voice, right, we need a closed vowel, because that's going to encourage your voice to thin, which is what we need. We need that. So let's think an E or an U, okay? We're going to stick with E because that front vowel is going to attack something else that's part of the issue, which is resistance. Resistance is how the vocal folds adduct against the air. How are the vocal folds coming together as the air passes through? And if you're saying it's weak and breathy, you're probably basically not adducting against it enough. So let's start with a gi. That's going to be I use that in actually the video probably that you saw, or another video, but that's a really good go-to exercise for this specifically. We're going to start here at a G sharp, just in case it's a little bit in your second, and we're going to repeat at the top. The repetition also helps to build strength. So go with me. I'm going to do this as if we're in a lesson together, okay? And this is going to be a long video because I want to, help if I can. So try to start speaking as much as you can, and here's the exercise. Do it with me, and then I'll bring you down. And let's go back up. Let's do one more. Now I started you a little bit higher into your second break a little bit, because again, I don't know where this is exactly happening. That's really important when you go to a voice teacher, that they're able to identify where is the issue. Okay, so say you're watching this and you're trying this and it's still that's happening. So sometimes it's good to kind of trick yourself with an unfinished sound or a funny noise, right? So that we're not in our singing accent, rather we are just making a human or animal noise. So one that often works for people to get this sound like a little bit fuller, right? We're thin, we're in head voice, but we don't want it to be so thin that it's just like, and like weak, right? So I tell people to call like they're calling a bird, okay? So do that with me, go, kee, 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 kee. Or you could do it on an oo. So say the E is just like, blah, I hate that. You can also do it with an oo. It just has less of a tendency to get that airy quality out. But hey, listen, if you use it as a bird sound, it might still work. So let's do that together. Goo, goo. So doing any of these goo, goo exercises is gonna be awesome. It's important to starting with chest voice and then going up to head and coming back down, because that's going to help you hold on to a little bit less of a weak sound. But if you get good at that, goo, 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 and it's all starting to feel like really solid, then I would start just landing there. Can you just land on that note, gee, 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 and coming down and trying to connect back to speaking? Let's do that together. So we're going to start actually in your first, and we're going to come down, and then I might take you back up a little bit through your second break. Gee, 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 gee. Gee, 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 gee. Gee, 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 gee. Come up. Gee, 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 gee. Gee, 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 gee. Even though we are in an E, I still want you to try to keep your jaw as loose as possible. So it's going to be weird. Try to flap your jaw a little bit. Gee, 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 gee. Gee, 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 gee. Gee, 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 gee. One more. Gee, 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 gee. The next step would be to either move away from the safety net of an E or an oo, and move towards a slightly more neutral vowel. Often with students, I'll get them to hold the more closed vowel in the headier position and then move to the next open vowel over on a double repeat. For example, can you move from the more closed vowel to the more open vowel while keeping the same amount of thickness and resistance? Can we try to make it feel as close to the E as possible? You can also challenge yourself by using a sustain. What does the sustain exercise sound like? I'll show you. Let's try here on an F sharp. Gee, 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 gee. Gee, 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 gee. You might have a tendency to let go without that repetition. Gee, 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 gee. Right? So it's teaching your muscle memory to hold on to that adduction and that right amount of thickness, right? So that the sound is clear and stable. So those are some go-to exercises. If you don't like the G, some students hate the G. The G is helpful as a stop consonant. It helps you from overblowing. It helps you thicken the sound slightly, right? So it's less weak. You can also use a B is another good stop consonant if the G in your throat is just like, blah, I hate that. You can also use M's and N's. Those are called nasals, and they're going to help your vocal folds adduct for longer. So something like a nay, 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 or a me, 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 me would also be very helpful, right? So that is a crash course, a little bit 10-minute voice lesson. I hope that's helpful. I hope to do more of these. Again, because, not everybody is able to afford lessons. So I like to give little helps here and there. Obviously, if you really want this problem solved permanently and you want guidance, I highly recommend actually booking with my associate, Lily. She was a student that eventually got certified and trained that I mentor. And I give a lot of my new students, I send them her way because she's brilliant and is an excellent guide. And I would check out if you want a lesson, you can follow the link in my bio, and that will lead you. You can hit and select my website for the booking page and all of that stuff. So I hope that was helpful, and anyone else watching, I hope that was some helpful information. Again, this was like a huge overview and a big generalization because I'm not with the student. I can't give them exact advice, but I love giving you guys information in hopes that you can feel a little bit more empowered in your voice. Hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching.